Welcome to Cook 30. I'm Jeremy Dixon from the Revive Cafes in Auckland, New Zealand, and also author of the Revive Cafe cookbooks. And today, I want to share with you some delicious cafe meals that you can cook in your very own home. Cook 30 food is all about using whole grain, plant-based ingredients. We're going to be using great protein sources like beans, lentils and nuts. Whole grains, fresh fruit and vegetables, and tying it all together with delicious herbs and spices and international flavours. And the best part about Cook 30 food is you do not have to spend hours slaving away in the kitchen making it. I'm going to show you how easy it is in the next 30 minutes to make a deliciously healthy meal for you and your family. On the menu today we have an Indian Tarka Dahl with chickpeas. We're going to be serving it over some lemony couscous. We have a tempeh and cherry tomato salad and some pan-fried asparagus. And dessert is an amazing peach ice smoothie. To cook meals in a very short time, you want to make sure you're prepared ahead. We've got a clear surface on our bench here. We've got a chopping board, sharp knife, hot pans on the stove getting warm. We've boiled the jug, and we've got our pantry and fridge loaded with all the ingredients that we need. First job we're going to start is the Tarka Dahl, and this is a great Indian dish. So we're going to start with a hot pan, and we're going to chop up an onion. And an onion is a great way to start most meals, especially vegetarian meals. So we're going to get off all the skin. Comes off eventually, and then we're going to chop it up. So we want to have it reasonably chunky, not too fine. So you've got nice little small pieces of onion in the dish. Cut it like that and then just cut it into cubes, all done like that. I'm going to put a little bit of oil in the pan. If you've got a good non-stick frying pan, you don't need too much oil. Put it in there. I'm going to add some garlic. Garlic and onions go very well. And a great quick way for garlic, get your garlic press, put the cloves in, 2 cloves of garlic, and squeeze it through like that. Lots of great time-saving techniques to do meals in a very short time. Running a cafe, we don't have hours in the day to spend making all these meals, so over the years I've learned a lot of shortcuts that we use in the commercial environment to make food really quick. Better get it stirring. We're also going to add some ginger. Ginger goes really well with dal, so we're going to add 4 tablespoons of ginger. I'm going to use ginger puree. I'm going to use a lot for this dish. You can also use freshly chopped ginger if you want as well, but this stuff that you can get in the supermarket is really good. So I'll turn that up a bit, and we'll just get this going. So a good base, get this underway, and we'll come back to this in a couple of minutes when those onions will start to get soft. Couscous is a really lovely accompaniment to have with any kind of a curry or a dal. So I've got some couscous here, and if you can, get wholemeal couscous because it's obviously a healthier version. So the recipe for couscous is 1 cup, and you want to measure this one, of couscous. And then we're going to put in some turmeric. So we don't need to measure this, but basically about just a little bit of turmeric, just to give it a bit of colour. So about 1/4 teaspoon. 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And we're just going to mix it around so it's evenly distributed through the mix so that the yellowness spreads well. And then we're going to add, this is boiling water. We're going to add 1 cup of water, so 1 to 1, very easy to remember. So pour it in, you've got to be really quick. Give it a quick stir around so it's evenly covered. And then quickly put a plate on top. And that will cook in probably about 5 to 10 minutes. So we'll come back and check on it later. And it'll become nice and fluffy. So you don't need to boil it or anything, just boiling water and the couscous, and that will become nice and fluffy. Now we want to add some really delicious Indian spices to the dal. And 3 of my favourite spices, which are awesome for a dal or any dish, are cumin, coriander and turmeric. So we want 2 teaspoons of each of these in the dal. So we're going to put it in with the onions now that they're starting to get soft. Here's 2 teaspoons, another 2 teaspoons, and the 2 teaspoons of turmeric. And turmeric adds not only colour, but it does actually add flavour, and also it adds thickness to dishes. So I'm going to stir that around and just activate those with the onions, which are softening up nicely. You do need to heat your spices just for a brief bit, just to activate all the delicious flavours. Now, one of my favourite protein sources is red lentils. And red lentils are just high in protein. They taste really, really nice. They're delicious. But the best part about them, they only take about 12 to 15 minutes to cook. So they're a great go-to protein source to have in your pantry when you want to cook something really quick. So I'm going to measure out 1 metric cup of lentils in here and put them in. And this forms the basis of the protein of the dal. Just give them a quick stir around to help soak up some of those flavours. Back to our jug with boiling water. We want 3.5 cups. 1. Ouch. It's hot. There we go. Oh, and a half. And it's about the ratio for this kind of lentil. It looks like it might be too liquidy now, but it'll start thickening up as we get to the end of the dish. So we're just going to give that a stir. Turn up the heat a little bit, bring it to the boil, and those lentils will just slowly cook with that beautiful, delicious Indian flavours in there as well. So they'll start to thicken up. Then one thing you should never do when you're cooking with lentils is add salt before the lentils are cooked, because the salt can stop or can inhibit the cooking of the lentils. So make sure you add salt last, which I generally do for most of my dishes anyway. So it's well underway there now, and we'll just let it sit there and simmer and come back to it later. Now this is one of my most favourite salads. It's really delicious. And it starts with an ingredient called tempeh. Now I don't know if you've heard of tempeh before, but it's basically soybeans that have been processed, and they end up looking like this. Bit of a weird shape, and you've probably seen it in the supermarket and not wonder what it is, but it is really delicious, and I really recommend you try it. Now, like any kind of soy product, they start out quite bland, like tofu for example, so you need to add a little bit of flavour to it. This has got a really, really nutty flavour. So all we're going to do with this is just briefly pan fry it with a little bit of oil, and it turns out being delicious. So we're just going to just cut it into cubes. So again, line things up so you can economise on your cutting. So little kind of 1/2 inch, 1 centimetre cubes. And we're going to put a bit of oil in the pan, a bit of tablespoon, and we're just going to throw these in there and just toss them around, and these just, the nutty flavour comes out and they start tasting amazing. I'm going to put a sprinkle of salt on as well, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So just toss those in that oil like that, and we'll leave them there just to toast up, and it becomes a really delicious ingredient for a salad. So part of the salad we're going to use some baby spinach, and this is a great thing you can buy from your supermarket in containers, and it normally comes really fresh, all pre-washed as well. So we're going to dump around about 4 cups in the bottom of our serving bowl. And I really love wooden bowls for serving salads, so if you see any at the markets or in different international shops, make sure you pick up a good range of wooden bowls. They're normally reasonably inexpensive and present stuff so well. I'm going to make a dressing now, and I'm going to make a tahini dressing. I'm just going to make it in a shortcut way. So I'm not going to use the blender, too much dishwashing. So we're going to put in 4 tablespoons of tahini, and this is just sesame seed oil. Sorry, sesame seeds that have been munched up and blended. Juice of a lemon, so that's usually about 2 tablespoons per lemon, depending on how juicy they are. Just going to put them through my fingers to get rid of the pips. This gives the dressing a bit of bite. Just going to add 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of honey, or you could use another healthy sweetener like date puree or agave. And a little bit of water. So you probably want to start off with around about 4 tablespoons of water, and you might want to add a little bit more. Just give it a quick stir to make a lovely dressing. So just stir it up. You need to make sure it becomes nice and smooth. Probably just a touch more water. So you want it so it's kind of it's pourable, but it's still nice and thick. Just a bit more stirring. Look at that, nice and silky. That's how you want it. Beautiful. Okay, and we're going to add some colour. So I've got some lovely cherry tomatoes. These just have lovely colour. Going everywhere. And just going to chop these in half. So just try and chop about 4 at a time, so you save lots of time. And we'll add these into the salad. So the most important rule when you're making a salad is colour. And you won't necessarily use every single colour of the rainbow, but just try and use different colours. Green, as a general rule, will transform most dishes. So make sure you've got some green in most dishes, most salads or dishes. If you don't, most herbs are green, and that's why I use so many herbs, because not only do they add different flavour, but they add fantastic colour as well. So how's these guys going here? Might turn it up a little bit. I can smell the very delicious flavour. It's got a really nice nutty flavour that I'm sure you'll love. So give tempeh a try. I find it in pretty much most supermarkets, so it is reasonably easily available. Just try that now. Tasting good. Just a little bit more, just so it heats through, and it'll bring out those really nutty flavours. So when that's finished, we're going to add that there to the salad, and we've got the dressing ready to go as well. So that's all ready to go when it's ready. Okay, we're going to do some asparagus now. This is a lovely, fresh, green ingredient to have as a side dish. So to prepare asparagus, it has really woody bits on the end. These bits at the end are really, really tight. So the trick is you want to snap it. Just grab a few pieces and snap it. And where it snaps, it'll snap off the woody bits and leave just the soft bits. Just go through like this and just snap off the ends, and it will naturally break where you want to. If you try and cut it, you're going to miss it, or you're going to waste it, or going to have woody bits. Just break it. And this is beautiful, fresh, young asparagus. You can use the fatter stuff as well. Either one is fine. Just do that, and it will just naturally break perfectly. So I've got a hot pan here. I'm going to put in just a little bit of oil, just a touch, and we're going to put this in, and we're going to lightly pan fry it. This is only going to take a couple of minutes. We've got to be really careful that we don't want it to burn. We don't want it to overcook. And we want to make sure the heat is reasonably low. We don't want to kind of sear it. We just want to just lightly just heat it up. So you still want to have that crunch in the asparagus. While we're here, I'll give this a bit of a toss. Look at it, it's browning up nicely. Really give the dal a stir. Look at this. You can see that the lentils are getting really soft now. Still a little bit to go. So you can see the colour change. You've got some that are quite darker that haven't cooked yet, and you've got some that are lighter which have cooked. So when you kind of see that uniformity of colour, that's when you know it's all nice and soft and ready to go. Just keep it moving. It's only just being gently warmed through. And while that's going, I think we can probably look at finishing the salad. So what we're going to do is just going to sprinkle the tempeh on like that. Turn the gas off. And just drizzle this beautiful dressing over the top of it. Give it a bit of a pick up. And just drizzle it over. And you can see how that's just such an easy, simple salad to make. The fresh tomato, the fresh spinach, and the lovely, fresh cooked, nutty tempeh. And we can put some dressing on the side of the table as well to go with it. That's all finished and ready for the table. One job done. How are these guys going? You've got to really keep an eye on it because they can suddenly catch, and before you know it you've got barbecued asparagus, which is not what we want. I'll just try one of these. Just a few more seconds. Just give it a sprinkle of salt. And the other ingredient we're going to add here is sesame seeds. And sesame seeds, when toasted, are just amazing. So we're going to sprinkle these on now, and they're going to become part of the toasting process. They're probably around about 2 tablespoons. Just lightly fold it through. And they'll start popping as they start cooking and heating up. And this is just a really lovely, quick, fresh side dish to make. Look at that Dahl's getting there. And again, you want it bubbling, so it's bubbling and cooking, but not bursting and splattering you. Just this nice little gentle simmer. So you get to learn with your pots and with your stove, you know, where the optimal temperature is, and it just makes cooking a lot easier. I think this is nearly done. This tastes so good. So it's still crunchy, it still tastes just a little bit raw. So we're going to turn the gas off, and we're just going to let those sit there now. So it's going to just keep it warm, so that by the time we come to serve, it's still warm but it's cooked. So just going to keep cooking a little bit more until we're ready. If you've just joined us on Cook 30, we're cooking a delicious meal in just 30 minutes. We're starting with the Indian Tarka Dahl with chickpeas. We're serving it on Lemony couscous. We have a tempeh and cherry tomato salad and pan-fried asparagus. And to finish it off, a peach ice smoothie. Okay, the couscous should be the next thing we do. Let's take the lid off this. It's always good to see what's happening under there. And look at that. Look how done that is. And we're just going to flake off and make this all nice and fluffy. So just gently flake off all the different layers. You don't want it to be too clumpy, which can happen sometimes. So just be really gentle and patient to get this couscous out. As you can see, it's got a beautiful, light, fluffy, yellow looking couscous. So keep stirring, make sure there's no lumps. It generally comes out quite well. Just that 1-to-1 recipe, 1 cup of couscous to 1 cup of water. Okay, we're going to put some greenery in it. So we've got some fresh parsley. So we're going to chop this up really fine. Put that in. We need to have the lemony side, so we're going to grab 2 lemons, get a juicer, and just juice these lemons. It just gives a lovely lemon flavour. Just squeeze it through your finger, pour it through fingers, catch this pips. And just keep stirring. Beautiful colour. And we've got a platter here to put it on. Just going to spread it out here. Doesn't look great. Before we serve, we're going to zest some lemon rind over it, and also just a drizzle of olive oil. So it's nearly finished. Okay, time to finish the Dahl. As you can see, this is thickened beautifully. Look at that. You may need to add some water occasionally just to get this kind of consistency. So just keep an eye on it as it's cooking, but this has just worked out really well. So we're going to add some salt. So a teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of honey or date puree or agave, some healthy sweetener. And what makes it a Tarka Dahl is chickpeas. So we're going to add some garbanzo beans or chickpeas, depending on what country you come from. All the same thing. Drain those out. Fire them in there. And we're going to add some frozen peas from the freezer. Another great fresh green ingredient to have on hand in the freezer. We're going to put in around about 2 cups straight in. They don't need cooking, they'll defrost within probably a minute or 2 in here. There's enough residual heat to defrost them, so they're looking really good. Look at that beautiful colour. And then just one finishing touch, which is optional, makes it nice and creamy, is coconut cream. So you can use a little can of coconut cream or coconut milk. You could also make up a cashew cream, an almond cream, just to finish it off. It's all cooked now. Everything there does not need to be cooked. The chickpeas and the peas don't need to be cooked. Everything just needs to be warmed through. So we're going to turn the heat right down to very low. We don't want that coconut cream boiling, just so it's just kept warm, so that when we serve it, it's nice and ready to serve. Look at that, beautiful. Asparagus is done, salad's done, couscous is nearly finished, and next I think we need to start dessert. Now we're going to make a really delicious smoothie. We've got a peach smoothie. You can get these delicious frozen peaches at the supermarket and they just are amazing. So get our trusty blender. And we're going to put in, always pays to put the soft ingredients in the bottom. So we'll start with 2 bananas. We'll put them in. That way when the blender starts, it gets things moving before it hits the hard ingredients. So always start with the bananas if you can. I'm going to put around about a cup of almond milk or any milk of your choice. And then we're going to put the peaches in. So we want around about 3 cups of peaches, frozen. If you did use fresh peaches, for example, you'd probably want to use frozen bananas. So you want to make sure about 50% of your smoothie volume is frozen stuff. That way you end up with a nice smooth texture. Going to be adding just a touch of turmeric, just a real little bit, just to give it a bit of extra colour. And we're going to add a tablespoon of honey, just to boost up the sweetness. And also just a touch of vanilla essence, just a couple of drops, probably about half a teaspoon. And let's blend. Just stir the dal for a second. Make sure we've got all the lumps out, and we can just pour it in here. Look at that. Delicious. So on the side of the jug, you notice you've got little measurements here. So see you've got 32 ounces, which is 4 cups. So just take you probably want about 1 cup per glass. So always take a look at these measurements. They're really handy to make sure you've got the correct quantity. If it wasn't enough, we could add some more to bring it up to the appropriate level. Just going to pour it in. Like that. This is just a delicious, fresh smoothie. Fantastic. There we go, the smoothies are done. A little bit of garnish on top, it's always nice. Just put a couple of slivered almonds, just for a bit of extra crunch. Obviously don't use this type of addition if you're going to be drinking with a straw, so those are all ready. Okay, let's just finish the couscous. going to get a lemon. Just going to grate some zest on. So just using the very fine grater setting. Just get some extra zest, just to give it a bit of extra lemoniness. You can get lemon zesters, but they often do very, very fine shards. I quite like just this kind of medium grater setting. There we go, and just a touch of olive oil just to go over the top. That's done now. And to finish off the dal, just a good old friend cilantro or coriander. Just chop some of that up. Sprinkle it on, and that's ready. Look at that. And all you need to do is plate up the asparagus, and the meal is all ready to go. And there you have a delicious meal for your family, 30 minutes. Easier than you thought, wasn't it? The beautiful Tarka Dahl with the red lentils. Make sure you get them in your pantry. Red lentils are so quick to cook. The lovely asparagus, pan fried with sesame seeds. Didn't take long at all as well. And the beautiful tempeh and tomato salad. You've got to try tempeh, you won't regret it. And of course, we're serving everything on the couscous as a nice bed there as well. And the peach almond smoothie, delicious. Thank you for joining me today on Cook 30. I hope you've enjoyed it, learned some new tips, and I look forward to seeing you next time.